All right, looking forward. We're live. Hooray. James, look who I've got with me. James Twyman. Whoa, this is a live program. I'm Steve Farrell with Humanities Team. I'm coming to you live from our Humanities Team studio in Boulder, Colorado. James, where are you coming in from today?
I am coming from Portland, Oregon, where I'm visiting family. Usually I'm coming from Mexico, but today I'm coming from cold and rainy Portland.
All right. Well, you look great, brother. Thanks so much for being here with me. I'm going to give James a proper introduction here in just a moment. First, just a shout out to friends of James Twyman's that are watching from Facebook, our Humanities Team friends, our Humanities Stream Plus friends, the Sign Network, and John Raymer. You know, big shout out to you. Thanks for joining us today. It's a gorgeous day here in Boulder, Colorado, and you know, plants and animals need rain. So it's a gorgeous day in Oregon too.
That's right.
So now, as always, please post your comments and questions in there in chat. We actually, right here in the studio, these questions are brought back. So during the hour, I can bring these things, these questions to James. And the earlier you come in with your questions and comments, the better, more likely that we can get to them during the hour. So now our theme here today is creative genius in spiritual pursuits and in life. So how cool is that? I'm going to introduce now properly James, and you'll see why we're going in the direction of spiritual pursuits that have to do with creative genius in spiritual pursuits and in life. So James Twyman is known as the Peace Troubadour and is a world-renowned musician and man of peace. For over 25 years, James has traveled to countries at war to share the prayers of peace from the 12 major religions of the world, which he put to music in 1994. He has been invited by peace organizations and even leaders of countries to Bosnia, Iraq, Northern Ireland, South Africa, and let's add in there the Ukraine. He's just back from the Ukraine, to institute world synchronized meditations with battles raging around him. Millions of people have participated and miracles have often followed. James is also the New York Times bestselling author of 18 books, including The Moses Code, The Barn Dance, has restored over 18 albums, including the Billboard chart bestseller, I Am Wishes Fulfilled, with Dr. Wayne Dyer, and has produced or directed 7 feature films, including the award-winning Redwood Highway. James is presently a member of the community of Francis and Claire and is the founder of Namaste Village, a spiritual community in Ajic, Mexico, and is an Anglican priest. During our conversation today, James and I will be discussing his brand new video program called Accessing Your Super Creativity, which he co-created with fellow creative visionary Barnett Bain and Humanities Team. We're also going to talk about a brand new masterclass that James and Barnett and Humanities Team created together called Creative Mastery. So welcome to the program again, James. It's wonderful to have you with us.
So great to be here as always, Steve. I'm so happy to be here live. So happy to be sharing this beautiful program with Barnett. We've been working on this for a year, maybe?
Year and a half, I think. Long time.
It's amazing to finally have it launched and to share the excitement.
Yes, just went live here yesterday. Just started unveiling it yesterday. So it's this brand new program. It's a free program. It's called Accessing Your Super Creativity, an approach to creative expression that will accelerate your growth, bring you more power, passion, and joy. Don't we all want to accelerate our growth and bring more power, passion, and joy to our life? So, and it's an amazing program. James, thanks for your partnership here this last year and a half as we've been creating it. Let's talk though, let's begin with just your life growing up, because I was fascinated during this program when we were creating it. You were sharing that right from the beginning, you said, I lived out of the box. You know, I don't know what a box is. I lived out of the box. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm not really sure I was ever in the box, to the great dismay of my family and my parents, who were very much in the box. So I was always that strange character that they could never really understand. And to me, it was very simple. You talked about passion and joy, and to me, that's what it was all about, just expressing my passion in every moment and being joyful with whatever was coming my way. And sometimes that led to some great adventures. It also led to a very deep inner inquiry. I was raised in a very, very Catholic family, uh, and that was all I knew when I was young, was my Catholicism. And I went deep. I went, deep into the mysticism of that. And I think that's what saved me. So many people, they feel wounded by different traditional religions, and maybe they're not getting what they really want from that experience. For me, it was always a very deep experience, which meant that I never really threw out the baby with the bathwater. I was able to integrate it all into that passion, into many creative pursuits, which have, as you said, taken me to countries at war and all over the world, to be in some very dramatic situations. Most recently, as you said, there on the border of Ukraine and Poland, as the refugees were streaming across to safety. So it's been quite an adventure. It has definitely been a powerful creative pursuit, and I'm just so happy to be able to share that here.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, we're grateful to have you and Barnett here, you're both creative geniuses. You wouldn't say that about yourself. So this is Humanities team saying this about you and Barnett. But I love too how you frame this. At first, let me start out by saying one of the things that you go out of your way to share with Barnett is that when we talk about creative expression, of course, it's art and music and dance and all of these things, but you said, no, it's our whole life. It is our whole life. So that's what we're talking about here. Can you, just for people that are trying to get their head around that creative expression in our whole life, what the heck does that mean?
Well, trying to simply be creative in something that we would call a creative pursuit, whether it be painting or some art, is like trying to put the cart before the horse. True creativity comes when we make a choice to live our entire life from that vibrant place. It really is a vibrancy, a frequency. And when we choose to live spontaneously from that vibrancy, then the other things come of their own. There'll be creative moments, there'll be artistic onrushes, there'll be things that we could never possibly expect that will just take hold of us, take place on their own. So this is, I think, the key is to live our lives from a place of openness and aliveness, and the desire to just be present to that creative force that's moving through each one of us.
Amen. Yeah. So, and let me even just say this, as people know, we're, of course, Humanities team, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We're also the largest nonprofit in transformational education. We like to call it conscious education. And our mission is to support you on the conscious journey, viewers, and to make conscious living pervasive worldwide by 2040, and which is in just 18 years. Now, when we talk about supporting you on your conscious journey, as it turns out, creativity is right in the middle, because as you'll see, as we're talking about this, James is bringing this in already, and Barnett brings this in, that we're living this out of the box word is kind of where it all starts. We're living in that place of connection, in that place of flow. This is what they keep emphasizing. It's not like it's genetic or it's just DNA and we've got it or we don't. And in fact, one of the things we talk about as guys, I myself, for most of my life, was like, I'm not that, I don't know that. I was a political science major. I'm not creative. So when it came time to do interior decorating in the home, and my wife said, I don't want to do it, I said, oh my God, I don't know anything about it. I had a blast, and now in Humanities team, as we're creating these programs like this program with James and Barnett, it was a blast. 18 months creating this program, which distills creative mastery down into modules that are just totally understandable so we can all get it. So I want to just emphasize right now, and this is what James and Barnett bring in, is that there are no self-limitations here. we've got to get rid of these, because the whole idea is to come into the fullness of our creative expression, which, James, as you say, we're born with, right?
Yeah, you said self limitations, and I think of the self with a small s as opposed to a big S. The self with a small s being the way that we define ourselves in limitation. I can do this and I can't do that. I am creative, I'm not creative, or I'm not creative enough, or I'm not creative like that other person. And that's the small s. Those are all the limiting beliefs that keep us in the box. And then there is the big S, the true self. And the important thing, if we want to look at it from a spiritual context, is that our true self, or the self with the capital S, is fully aligned with the creative aspect of divinity. Because that's all God does, if you want to use that word, God. I mean, the creator, the source of all it does is create. All it does is extend what it knows itself to be. And what is it? It's love. It's a vibrant love. And when we choose to be in that same flow, then we find ourselves creating, not in a limited sense, like a painting, or, I mean, that's all fine. But there is a like throwing yourself into a river sort of creativity, where you just let the current take you, and you have the confidence of knowing that that river knows something that you don't. That river knows that the current is taking it right to that infinite ocean. But if we try and do this ourselves, or we try and limit it ourselves, it's like holding on to a branch at the side of a river, and we're getting smashed against the shore by the current. I say let go, I say surrender, and just see where it takes you. That's the adventure of it. You never really know where it's going to take you or where it's going to lead, but I promise it's going to lead somewhere fantastic if you just really just give yourself to it and let it play you rather than you trying to play it.
Yeah, beautiful and so true. Wow, thank you for that, James. So true. Yeah, just that surrender into it. Don't try and hold on. I love it. Let's go look at a clip here. Okay, so it's called Accessing Your Super Creativity. This is the 60-minute free program just for created. It's never been broadcast yet. It's being broadcast next week. We're going to put a link right now on the screen where you are on Facebook, on humanities.team. And if you don't see the link, you can go to humanitiesteam.org with a Y, humanitiesteam.org, and scroll down, and you'll see it's the featured free program, Accessing Your Super Creativity. You just leave your name and email address, and then when we unveil this next week, for the very first time, you'll be invited to come. And James and Barnett are going to be there live when we broadcast, so they can answer your questions. So, and you can't, money can't buy that. James and Barnett aren't both available at the same time like this. So they're both coming for this unveiling, Accessing Your Super Creativity. Sign up and check it out. Let's go take a look at this clip, and then James and I are going to come back and talk more about it.
Well, I don't know if they would have said that I was a creative genius when I was a kid, more that I was just a weirdo and was out of the box and was not like anybody else. And it was just because I didn't see the box. I didn't think that there needed to be one. And I just lived from this place of spontaneity. And maybe that's the beginning step of creative genius, is to know that we are unlimited, and that the creative energy and power that's all around us is unlimited. And if we can just dive into it, like diving into a river and letting the current take us. But most of us, what we tend to do is we're a little bit hesitant or even afraid, and so we may dip our feet in the river, or maybe we'll hold on to a tree at the side and we'll be smashed against the side of the river. And there comes a point for all of us, I think, where we just have to surrender and realize that this is not me as an identity. As James Twyman, there's very little I can do. But when I give myself and allow myself to be, in the words of this prayer of St. Francis, an instrument of peace, then I can be used in ways that I would never even imagine. So I think, yeah, there are certain people, as Barnett said, that maybe are more adept at that early on, but it's something that we're all here to experience. I love how Barnett put it, that we can be creative within a friendship, within a relationship. It's not limited to anything, to any art form or what we call art. Life is an art. So the creative genius flows through us in the ordinary moments, and it's fun. I mean, I can't imagine living in any other way because it's just so dynamic, and the frequency is just so exquisite.
All right. Wow. Nice. That was a short clip, just a couple of minutes from a 60-minute program. We just created it, has not been unveiled, never been broadcast yet. We're broadcasting it next week for the very first time. James and Barnett are going to be there live. I think it's 5 p.m. Pacific on Thursday. But if you leave your name and email address and this link that we're putting on Facebook, also it's on our Humanities team page. When you scroll down, you'll see accessing your super creativity, your name and email address. We'll send you a link so you can come to the program when we unveil it live next week. So now, who wouldn't want to live a life like this, James?
Oh my gosh, you ain't kidding. It's the only way to live as far as I'm concerned, because, well, when we don't, we stagnate. Our being, that true self within us, it's just under wraps. It's under the blanket, and I don't want the truth of who I am to be under a blanket. Jesus said, you don't light a lantern and put a blanket or a bushel basket over it. You put it on the highest hill where people can see it, where it can shine the brightest. And that's what I think we're all here to do, but not to judge against another person, or, how do I compare to Barnett Bain, this amazing movie producer and director. And Barnett's not going to compare himself to me, nor are we to you, Steve. We're each one of us here to discover that vibrancy within ourselves. And it's going to show up in an infinite number of ways, like we said in that clip, through relationships, through friendships, just through the ordinary moments of our lives. We have to just really give ourselves the opportunity to shine, and don't hold back. That's, I think, one of the biggest issues that people have, is they're worried and they're in fear that I shouldn't let myself shine so bright. What will people think? I'll tell you what people will think. You're going to inspire them. You're going to inspire them to shine just as bright as you. There's a great line from my favorite guy, St. Francis of Assisi, who said, "Our only job is to teach love wherever we go, and only when necessary, to use words."
Yeah.
So it's not the words, it's the shine, it's the brightness of our being. And when we throw ourselves into that river, like I've said a couple of times already, boy, the light just radiates from us, and people want to be near us, and people want that same thing in their own lives. So let it shine. Don't hold back. Give everything to this, because it has already given everything to you.
Yes, it has. It is, in the present tense and the future tense. It is. Yeah. Beautiful, James. So let me just share too. You can see there's somebody in the Humanities Stream Plus room. We'll be bringing her in shortly. Patty and Katie have come in with questions, and we'll get to your questions. Thank you. We're going to just unfold this a little more. Also, James actually has got his instrument here in just a little bit. He's going to play his guitar here and bring us right into an experience. So stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. Now, let me just share, because we keep referencing Barnett Bain. This is James Twyman's partner and co-creator in this program. And if you're unfamiliar with him, What Dreams May Come, those of you that have seen this movie, it's the most creative movie I've ever seen in my life, an Oscar winner. So this Barnett, I think, was a producer of that. And then The Celestine Prophecy, many of us have read the book, maybe seen the movie too. Also, I think a producer of that. And then Homeless to Harvard. So this was an Emmy Award winner, and so on television. These are just three. There are all of these movies, these books. He teaches creative mastery all over the world. So Barnett Bain in his own right is extraordinary. This is why, and Barnett and James have been friends for a long time. This is the first time they've collaborated on a masterclass together. So we were delighted to be partnering with them on this. James, let's go take a look now. So for people that want to go deeper after accessing your super creativity, we did create also a brand new masterclass. It's called Creative Mastery. And let's go take a quick look at that, and we'll talk a little bit about this as well here.
Connection brings about a certain kind of magic that we can call creativity if we want. So I think that this is very important, that we realize it's not something I do. I don't sit down and say, I am now going to be creative. I can do that, and I have done it. We've all done it. But I think we can admit, I certainly can, that when I do that, it's never as powerful, it's never as impactful on me or on others as when I get out of the way and I simply attune my mind and my heart to something that I sense or feel that is moving through me, and I begin to realize that there is a creative flow, or like a river, that flows through us every moment if we would become aware of it. And that's the second thing I wrote down here. The creative connection happens when we enter into the creative flow of the universe, just like jumping into a river. If I can't see around the river bend, am I going to just stay on the shore and not risk it? There is a certain degree of risk that happens when we choose to be creative. We have to dive in. We can't just stay on the side of the river watching the water flow, watching the current, afraid that maybe there's a waterfall or something dangerous on the other side. We have to trust and to know that we're always going to be given everything that we need within this creative process.
Okay, beautiful. And again, that's just a little clip. So the full name of this brand new masterclass, it hasn't been unveiled yet. This is actually the very first time we've even talked about it. It's called Creative Mastery, a radical new approach to imagining the future and turning every moment of your life into a work of art. So how cool is that? And it has quite a lot in it. There are 16 modules, as is often, how we create our masterclasses. The beginning and the end module are with James and Barnett together. And then James has 7 modules, then Barnett has 7 modules. They have their 2 live 60-minute mentoring programs, which again, you couldn't call into their offices and arrange that. So you're with them live, you can come on camera, talk to them, go talk about anything in this program, masterclass that they created. There are transcripts, so you can bring those with you of the 16 modules. And it's actually going to begin with a program. It's one of the bonuses. It's actually on May 9th, beginning at 5 p.m. Pacific. And James and Barnett are going to come live to that and just talk about how we can get the most out of the 8-week program as this cohort all goes through together. So real excited about this. This is the first unveiling of this whole thing. James, any words as you talk about the masterclass that we created together?
First of all, I'm surprised how often I use the river analogy. I think it's been 3 or 4 times just in this one call, but it is a good one. We have to throw ourselves in and just go with that divine flow. And that's what Barnett and I did when you first approached us with this idea. We just said, yes, let's go. And we threw ourselves in. We had no idea how we were going to do it or what we were going to talk about. We just said yes. And isn't that always the beginning? Usually when confronted with something really dramatic and life-changing, there's often a place within us that holds back and we give a maybe. But no, this is a step beyond maybe. This is a step into the eternal yes. And I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I say yes. And I know it's going to happen through me, not by me, but through me. Maybe that's one of the keys, is that this is not something that I as an identity am doing. It's something much bigger than that I'm allowing to flow through. As I'm sitting here speaking now, I have no idea what I'm talking about. And maybe most people would be worried about that, but I've simply learned just to go, just say yes and see where it leads you. And even if it doesn't make as much sense intellectually as if I sat down and planned it all out, there is an energy that we feel when someone is being spontaneous and vibrant in the moment. And it's really that energy that teaches us much more than the information or the knowledge or the intellect. You can give the most intellectual speech and maybe even brilliant, but it's not going to be as impactful as just being present to the moment and letting that moment shine through you. So I think that's what Barnett and I both did, and we're just so grateful that you invited us to allow that. Uh, and you had asked before about playing something. I think I don't want to play anything I've ever written before. I just want to write something right now. Write a song.
Fantastic. Let me just do something and then we're going to come back to that. So
Okay.
viewers, I know you're looking forward to that. Just something right now. Just this is creative expression. So never written before, just going to come through live. I mean, this is creative expression. And I just want to make the point again that when the humanities team were 19 years old, okay, going on 20, never done a program on creative expression. And when we talk about conscious living, there's this is what conscious living is for me. When I let go and I was in Silicon Valley as a technology entrepreneur, it was just leaving that Western mind of where everything was going to be planned out in advance. And I was just going to check off, do a checklist all day long for this, where instead we're living in flow. We're in this place of connection that it's all the omni words. It's all right here, right now. And just letting go. So this program, this free program, accessing your super creativity, and then the masterclass that follows, creative mastery. This is the heart of conscious living. It is what this is where the fruit of it comes in. And this is where when we talk about this whole humankind and planet that we want to create, and we say we want heaven on earth, this is its basis, where all of us are doing this together. We're in flow. We're in this place of connection. We're seeing the sacred in life. It's what it is. No longer is it about serving things less than that. And of course, love is the center of that, which James was just talking about being an expression of love. Now, I want to just share that this program is going to be offered on the Humanities Stream Plus platform. So I want to tell you a little bit about it in case you don't know about it. It's a revolutionary streaming platform. It's revolutionary because it's one click. When you go to the platform, you click once and you can go, you'll see all of the modules that are underneath here, creative mastery, all of what you get. You click once and you go into the modules. If you want to click over to recent programs, it's one click. So right now, a cohort is going through called Technology, Consciousness, and Evolution. That's Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, and Lynn McTaggart. One click over and you're in that program with 27 modules. Or one click over, and we just created a program a few months ago with Michael Bernard Beckwith, Neil Donald Walsh, called You're Discovering Your Soul's Purpose. And then one click over, late last year, we created with Nassim Harriman, who's just in the process of unveiling his unified field theory, and Nassim Harriman and Greg Braden, a program called Forbidden Science. So and these are 4 or 5 of hundreds of programs that are available on this revolutionary streaming platform. We're bringing Spanish out here now. Other languages will come out behind it. It's $3.99, so that's about the price of a single masterclass. And you got hundreds of programs. This brand new program is just coming down onto the platform. And we're announcing all of these new programs throughout the year. So during your subscription, it's not just the hundreds of programs that are there now, it's all of these coming. It's the live mentoring with Barnett and with James, live mentoring with these other leaders who are developing these new conscious educational programs on the platform. And again, it goes into other languages. As well, you may know, recently we announced a one-for-one program. So, because when we talk about making conscious living pervasive worldwide by 2040, there's a whole significant population of the earth that is living on $2 a day and could never, at any price ever afford this platform. And so the one-for-one program, when you like come into this program here, Creative Mastery with James and Barnett, you do it probably for yourself of I want to buy this gift for myself and I'll bring this content into my home and my workplace, etc. But you actually are a bringer of light, because in a one-for-one program, you're actually gifting the program to an underserved individual, incarcerated individuals, vets, their whole populations of people that we're reaching out to with our one-for-one program. So you're a giver, you're a light, a bringer of light. You're all of those things, in addition to just acquiring for your own purposes an incredible masterclass like Creative Mastery. So that's a little bit about Humanities Stream. If you go to humanitiesteam.org/stream, or you just go to the humanitiesteam.org website, you'll see right there, it says get started. You can click and it'll take you into the platform. And you really need to go there just to take a look at all of what's there and the one-for-one program, et cetera. And here shortly, you'll see a Creative Mastery, and you can just dive in and go through the program as quickly as you'd like. Though our cohort's going to take 8 weeks to go through with the mentoring and stuff. That's the amount of time that we're setting aside for the cohort, because you can then attend to your own life and your family and your professional work. And it's not a headstand. It easily fits into your day over an 8-week time frame. Okay, let me come back to James. James, you said you had a little entertainment here for us, something you've never done. You're just kind of out of your mind. You're just going to bring in some creative expression. Let's go.
Well, I'm definitely out of my mind, and maybe that's the key. Stay out of our mind. So this is maybe a demonstration of how we can just be present to the moment and just allow that energy to flow through whatever means or medium we choose. So I'm just going to open up and see what's ready to flow right now. There is nowhere I need to go, nothing I need to do, for deep within I already know the way back to you, back to you. Why would I look anywhere but where I've always been and where you are now? What could I ever choose to see but true freedom? It's all inside of me. Helpful. Yes, I am here only to be truly helpful. There's nowhere left to go, nothing left for me to do. Just open wide, for this river inside leads me back to you, back to you. Yes, I am here to be truly helpful. I am only here to be truly helpful, truly helpful. The thing
Okay, that was beautiful. And I love the lyrics there, James.
And the thing
Too
I like about
helpful.
it is it's the only time I'll ever sing it because I have no idea what I just sang. I'm hoping this is recorded, but that's the beauty of this creative flow is everything is always new, everything is always fresh, and there is no past, there is no future, there's only right now. And so you open up and you create something like that. It's like, well, there it is, and there it goes, and that was beautiful, and now we move on to the beauty of this moment, and every moment is going to reveal that to us.
Yes, it is. And, again, this is when we talk about conscious living and the fruit of conscious living, or the true prosperity, which is beyond just the dollar signs, which is a part of it, but actually a smaller part of it. It's just exactly what you're talking about here, James, where we're really in that flow. We're a part of, we're actually, as you may know, in Humanities team, our whole thing from the beginning in 2003 is we are all one. So we're sovereign actually to one body, which means that it's not who we are, it's whose we are. We we can act like we're separate. We can not be in flow if we want. We're given freedom of choice, but if we align with who we really are, which is what we're talking about, and we become a member of that one body, and we invite it in and come into flow with it, then all of these beautiful things happen that James is talking about here, and we become an incredible creative expression. So this free program, again, we're unveiling for the very first time here now. It's called Accessing Your Super Creativity, an approach to creative expression that will accelerate your growth, bring you more power, passion, and joy. It's with James Twyman and Barnett Bain. It's Humanities team's newest free program. It's a 60-minute program. We're going to be broadcasting next week with James and Barnett with us live. Let me get to some questions that are coming in here. So James, this is a question from Patty. She says, I was raised Catholic, and while I don't agree with everything the church stands for, I'll always be Catholic. How do I not apologize for this?
Well, you are asking the right person that, because I can really relate. Uh, I was raised Catholic, as you know. I am a priest. I am in an Anglican or an Episcopal priest now, because that seemed to resonate with more of where I am and who I am and whose I am now. Um, and yet, as I said before, I never threw out the baby with the bathwater. I have a funny story I love to tell about a very, very dear friend that I knew years ago named David. David was from Boston. He had a very, very thick Boston accent. Like me, he became a Franciscan right out of high school, ended up leaving sometime later, became very open and metaphysical later in his life, became a student of A Course in Miracles, as I have been for almost 30 years. And yet he would still go to Mass. He was still very connected with the church, and people would ask him how he could do that and, be a student of A Course in Miracles. And he would say in his very thick Boston accent about the church, he would say, I know she's the whore of Babylon, but she's my mother. And that's how I feel. She's my mother. She's my foundation. The church and the mysticism, the communion, the connection that I received is my foundation, and I honor my foundation. And yet at the same time, I can grow and I can flow and I can flourish in many different directions. It doesn't have to be a stagnant, this is what I am and I can't leave this, or I am no longer that, and I throw that away. There is a way of including everything. For me to at this stage in my life, fully embrace my role as a Franciscan, as a priest, but also as a metaphysician, as a creative, all of these things, we can include it all. The ego is the part of us that wants to exclude. Our wholeness is what wants to include everything. So I'm right with you. Don't worry about what other people think. If they don't understand, they don't understand. You just live in the vibrancy of that experience, and they'll get it on another level.
Yeah, no kidding. And one of the things I've shared a few times on these Humanities Team Live programs is those of us on the conscious journey probably are familiar with the life review. So because mediums talk quite a bit about it, they almost always say the same thing, which is at the end of our life, there's a life review where through other people's eyes, like James looking at me or others, or us looking at James, that we can feel James sees those of us that were key parts of his life throughout his life and what we were feeling and thinking. And oftentimes then what mediums will share is people will say, I really could have done better than that. I could have done better than that. That wasn't me at my most truthful or loving place. So what we're talking about here now, this whole creative expression, this whole understanding we're part of one body, living in oneness as part of one body. It's not some little aside thing. At the end of our life, there's a life review. We actually are looking at how this all worked. And you know what? And as I've heard about life reviews, bank accounts aren't anywhere in there. The car we drive isn't. The house that we live in isn't. None of that stuff is in the life review. So it's all just, how loving were we? You know, how much of an expression of the one were we? That's all we're looking at. So where we make these adjustments that we're talking about, it's not little stuff over on the side that's kind of convenient. It's the middle of everything. You know, when we're on the conscious journey, at least this is what mediums will share. So, and we work with a lot of excellent mediums here in Humanities Team. So this is really, really important stuff. It's the center of our life. It's what, and then in my understanding, we go back and forth. And so we get to, where we say, I could have done better than that. Well, we're born back into a body and we have a life again and we get another go of it. So, but why wait? Why kick the can? Why not give it everything now?
Right.
Let's give it everything now. Let's become that creative expression now. I mean, look at what James is doing with his life. I mean, it's fantastic. That's why we're so grateful to have him here. James, you're just a living expression of what we're talking about here, of really just giving it everything, huh?
Thank you. Well, it's not hard.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about that. It's not hard. It's fun. It's easy. We just have to be willing to say yes and to go. And once again, when it grabs hold of you, it does the work. All we need to do is be willing to do it now, to be present now, and realize that every moment is calling us to a creative expression beyond our imagination, and it's going to show up in every area of our life.
And let me bring this in too. Is something we talk about quite a lot right now in Humanities Team, is on porches throughout the world, front porches and back porches, and where families gather on couches, etc. One of the big conversations is, what's going to happen to our world? Where, you know, things are quite challenging here, you know, and then the litany of lists, this and this and this and this and this. Is there any answer? Is there anything that really that creates a sustainable and flourishing planet? This conversation is going on everywhere. Now, the answer, we believe in Humanities Team, is just right here, what we're talking about. Because where we individually make the decision that James and I are talking about, and we live consciously where the world is sacred, and that then is the highest priority, life, serving life first, that then, you know, we create actually the answer. So yes, there's a first domino. We just push over this first domino where we each become this creative expression. We live consciously. And then we do this with people all over the world. It's why our platform, Humanities Stream, we think is so important, because we've got people like James and Barnett and Neil Donald Walsh and Michael Beckwith and Greg Braden. And, you know, there are hundreds of them, beautiful leaders who've given of their time to create these masterclasses that talk about how we live this way. And where we simply live this way around the world, we're there. As some people call it heaven on earth, we're there. This is the answer. It's right under our nose. So we're incredibly passionate about this, as you can see, in Humanities Team. Let me go to some other questions here. So this is from Katie. But by the way, there's some people on the screen that I can see that are part of the Stream Plus community. If any of you want to come on camera and talk to James directly, put your hand up, because we're happy to have you just talk with James directly. So that's just an invitation. I didn't mean to run anybody off here. So an invitation for anybody that's part of the Humanities Stream Plus community that might want to come live on camera. So let me go to Katie's question. She says, I read a quote about a vast number of people who are rejecting Christianity, not because of Jesus, but that the writings in the Bible marginalize, cause separation, bigotry, etc. The quote ends with the line, "This is Christ-like, don't you think?" So James, do you want to comment on that?
I'm not really sure I understand the question. Could you say it one more time?
So I think the larger, it does go in a number of different directions, but that people are rejecting Christianity, and not because of Jesus, but just because of some of the things that are out in the world and misinterpretations and things.
Okay, well, the ego, which is that part of us that wants to remain separate, that which wants to remain isolated and all of that, is always looking for something to reject. And it's always looking to be right, which is another way of making other people wrong. What I have found is that living in the I don't know is a much safer and much more vibrant place to be. I started doing this thing when I was, well, about a year ago or so, when COVID was going on and elections were happening and very divisive times. I was talking to my younger brother, who I adore, and he and I have some very different ideas about a lot of things. And because he's my brother, he always wants to be right and prove me wrong. And the problem is he's a lot smarter than me and he's better informed than me. So he's hard to argue with. So one day we were talking and I said three things that changed my life. And I've shared this a lot of places, and maybe that's the answer to this question. I said to him three things. Number one, I don't know. Number two, maybe. And number three, I love you. It is the end of every argument, the end of every discussion that seems to be going in the wrong direction. Because the truth is, I don't know. But if I allow myself to open and be shown, something new is going to come through me that I would not have been able to figure out on my own. So I don't know, maybe. And now I'm not making my brother wrong. I'm not saying I'm right in my position and you're wrong in yours. And finally, I love you. To stay in that place. So when it comes to rejecting, I do my best to not reject anything. When it comes to, say, Christianity or the church, I'm a priest, so I'm obviously not someone who is rejected, but I have included a lot more into my ministry so that it's more well-rounded, it's inclusive, it doesn't reject anything, because I stay innocent in that space of I don't know. Maybe. I love you. So try that out. Try those three things out the next time you're in a discussion with someone and it gets, trying to prove one side or the other. It ends it like that, and you end in harmony.
Yeah, nice, James. Yeah, thank you for bringing that in. And your younger brother, I haven't heard you talk about him before, but yeah, and we all have these similar family situations, I'm sure, too, because when we're on this conscious journey, a lot of the planet isn't there yet. So this is going to happen within families of, tell me about this, and why do you believe that? And these are conversations we're all having.
Yeah, and speaking of brothers, for my whole life in my family, I've had two brothers and two sisters. Now I have three sisters and one brother, because my older brother has now transitioned and is living as a woman, and it's beautiful. It's, for me, even as liberal and as open as I am, this has been my brother literally since the day I was born. And so it's been an interesting transition of both being fully accepting of my sister, Hannah, formerly my brother, Todd, but at the same time, just to live in the question of willingness to to understand this in a deeper way, not just intellectually, but to join with her and whoever it may be. It could be someone who shows up who is a very strong conservative Republican who maybe has different ideas, but I don't want to make them wrong just because we have different ideas. In fact, I think one of the issues today is that we only want to hang out with people who agree with us. What would happen if we hung out with people and listened deeply to people who don't necessarily agree with us? It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to change our opinion or our position, but maybe we'll be able to join with them instead of rejecting them. Maybe we'll be able to learn something from them instead of not listening at all. I mean, these are just ideas, and maybe it's just part of the openness that's required to live within that evolutionary creativity.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. And thank you for bringing in the family uh, situation. Because again, I haven't heard you. I know about your daughter and granddaughter, but I didn't know about your sibling. And this is what's happening in the world today: is people are finding freedom to, if they're a man and have always known themselves as a woman, or a woman that have always knows themselves as a man, they have that opportunity. And isn't it fantastic? Because as we're kind of coming back in over and over, the whole thing is really about love. And where there's love, why in the world are we trying to condemn anybody for their choice, where they're finding their expression, whatever that might be.
Exactly.
So beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. So this is a question from MJ Stallman. This is on your page, James. So your Facebook page. And MJ says, how can we still be creative helping globally when much of humanity is suffering?
That's the time to especially be creative. I mean, suffering is not a reason to hold back. Suffering is a reason to give more. It's the time that is more required for us to live vibrantly and to really give everything. Going to the border of Ukraine and Poland, as I did just a few weeks ago, I went there not having any idea what I was going to do or how I would serve, just showing up and letting myself be guided in the moment, and the interactions that I had, and the children that I gave teddy bears to, and the people that we gave rides to so they could get to the train station, so they could meet their relatives in other cities. Every moment was an opportunity to join. So once again, we don't hold back when there's suffering; we give more.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. I mean, that's such a great question, MJ, because I could see how a lot of people would come from the same place of, isn't where they're suffering and we're just engaging in creative expression. Are we doing something kind of kids foolish? But in the context that we're talking about creative expression, where it's where we're surrendering, where we're living as part of the one, where we know ourselves as part of the body of, pick your word, God, universe, life, love, doesn't matter, the word Jesus, then this is anything but silly kids game. This is the most loving, most healing thing that we become a healer. We become an alchemist when we do this. So we're actually directly addressing pain. But I'm not sure that's totally obvious. So I think there are probably a lot of questions from viewers like MJ. So MJ Smallman, thank you for bringing that in. So then here's a question from Paul, who says, do you have any mindfulness practices for encouraging creative flow? I often find myself stuck in my mind while working on creative projects.
Another great question. Well, I do my best to keep my mind out of it and just trust that flow, throw myself in and not worry about if I'm going to make any sense or not. I'm famous for giving talks and homilies and whatever it may be, having absolutely no preparation whatsoever. Now, that would frighten the heck out of most people. Almost everyone else that I know, whether they be ministers or priests or speakers or authors, they like to be prepared. They want to sit down and they want to know what they're going to talk about in advance. In many cases, write it all out. I say, no way. I may have an idea of where I want to go, but I like to chase it down the street. I think that's one of the things I talked about in one of my modules is, don't try to over plan, because it's never going to go the way you think it's going to go anyway. Just say yes, start walking, start running, chase it down the street. You're going to have to adjust along the way anyway. So don't think that you have to do anything. Just say yes, really, and start. And don't worry about what it's going to look like, if it's going to turn out right. I can tell you probably 3/4 of the things that I've launched or tried to launch fell flat, but maybe 25-30% of them were huge and amazing and fantastic experiences that in some cases touch the lives of millions of people. But if I were to focus on the 3/4 of the things that fell flat, I probably never have the courage to do anything again. But if we just live in the moment and not worry about the result, just do this because this is a creative opportunity for me to just express and to allow and to be present and to join with other people and not worry about what it looks like, just say yes and go, then there is an energy to it that you'll never feel if you overplan.
Yes, indeed. Fantastic. So this is why you use this metaphor of a river and just letting go, and just being present, being in the moment, being part of the body, letting flow happen. And you and Barnett, of course, talk about this so beautifully and richly and fully throughout your masterclass. And as you mentioned, the beginning and end modules they created, they didn't have an outline. Boom, they came on screen and just went, because they wanted to embody and express what creative mastery is. Let's do it in the moment here, James. And they did, and it's incredible. So it was such a pleasure and a joy to work with James and Barnett to create this creative mastery masterclass. Let me again just read the full name. So the free program that we're unveiling for the first time today, it's called Accessing Your Super Creativity, an Approach to Creative Expression that will accelerate your growth and bring you more power, passion, and joy. So, and when you sign up for this free program, we'll be broadcasting it next week. James and Barnett are going to be coming live to answer your questions. We're actually going to broadcast it twice. The first time we broadcast it, they'll be there live. And then for people that want to go deeper, just so you are familiar with the name of the full program that people want to go deeper on, it's called Creative Mastery, a radical new approach to imagining the future and turning every moment of your life into a work of art. So, and that's on the Humanities Stream Plus platform. James, I'll read you some final comments here. What an incredible hour it's been. So Lorna says, I visited you in Ajik. I hope I'm probably mispronouncing that, and I apologize.
Ahihik. It's the J is like an H. Ahihik.
Ahihik. Okay. Ahihik. Thank you, and I apologize for
hard. It took me a week
reading that incorrectly. In Mexico, it's a Namaste village. So many years ago, and I loved it. Lorna says. So thank you, Lorna, for sharing. And then Janice shares, thank you, Mirror of Higher Consciousness, James. So she says, thank you, Mirror of Higher Consciousness. So that's Janice. We'll leave it with that. Thank you so much, viewers, for being part of this program. Thank you for being on this conscious journey with us. James, to you and Barnett, huge thank you for putting a year and a half of your life into creating this new free program, this brand new masterclass. It's a gift to the world. So, hey, come in, viewers, check it out. You'll be glad you did. It's the center of our life. We're just getting to kind of a little piece of it here today. There's a treasure chest in there. So invite you to check it out. Thanks for being with us. This is our new broadcast day and time. So we have been broadcasting live on Fridays. We were calling it Celebration. We're now coming to you live on Wednesdays. Our new time is 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern on Wednesdays. Humanities Team Live. We'll be back with you next week. Barnett Bain, who is the co-creator of this whole program with James, is going to be with us live next week. We're going to start at a half hour early. So at 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, we'll be starting next week. And then the week after that, Neil Donald Walsh, who's a co-founder of Humanities Team, will be with us. And then lots of other special guests after that. So join us next week. James, thank you, brother. And have a blast with your daughter and granddaughter.
I certainly will. Thank you so much, Steve, for everything that you and everyone at Humanities Team is doing. I've been with you and watching you from the very beginning. Even when Neil was first starting to talk about the idea, I remember sitting around with him, and to see it flourish in this way through you and through so many others is a great honor and privilege.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, James was right there in Ashland when this was launched there. I remember meeting you for the first time over at Neil's home. Way when he had the horses behind his house there on the hill in Ashland. So that was about around 2000, 1999, 2001, somewhere in there. So I've been honored to know you, James. Thank you for the gift of the world that you are, and your community, Namaste Village. Viewers, thank you. You all, this is why we're here. James and I are yak back and forth. We're actually here for you, supporting you on the conscious journey, just as you support us. And hey, together, let's go make this happen. Let's live this rich life, and let's create this heaven on earth together. Let's do this. We are doing this. Okay, have a fabulous rest of the day, everybody. Love and